The screams echoed through the empty hallway of Graydale Correctional Facility, bouncing off the concrete walls like they were trapped there forever. Officer Ryan Cole froze in place, his flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. The power had gone out minutes ago, and backup generators had failed to kick in. That was never supposed to happen. Not here. Not anywhere near Cell Block E, the one part of the prison that every guard had been told to avoid. He could hear the screaming again, louder now, desperate, human, but twisted in a way that made his chest tighten. The door to Cell Block E was open. It had been sealed for over 15 years, welded shut after what the warden once called an unfortunate incident. No one talked about what really happened there. No one dared. Ryan stepped closer, his radio crackling with static. "Control, this is Cole," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. "Who opened E-Block?" No response. Just static. Then, from the dark corridor ahead, a flicker of movement, like a shadow peeling off the wall and slipping back into the darkness. Ryan aimed his flashlight, his heart pounding so hard it echoed in his ears. "Who's there?" he demanded. The beam of light trembled across cracked cell doors and rusted bars, and then stopped, on a man standing still in the hallway. His prison uniform was old, faded, the kind that hadn't been used in decades. His face was pale, hollow, and yet, he was smiling. "Been a long time since someone opened this door," the man said quietly. "You shouldn't have come here, officer." Before Ryan could react, the man stepped back into the darkness, and the door behind him slammed shut with a deafening clang. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Ryan's scream was swallowed by the darkness. Hours earlier, Graydale Correctional Facility sat in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by thick woods and silence. It was old, built in the 1960s, and most of its systems hadn't been updated since. Officer Ryan Cole had been working there for 3 years. He wasn't new, but he wasn't seasoned either. What made him different was his curiosity, a trait that everyone at Graydale said would get him in trouble. That morning had started like any other. Roll call, head count, breakfast distribution. The same tired faces, the same sarcastic jokes from the inmates, the same creaks of old metal doors. Nothing ever really changed inside Graydale, except for one thing. Cell Block E. It sat at the far end of the prison, beyond a set of double steel doors no one ever opened. There were no guards assigned there. No inmates listed. The power grid didn't even connect that section to the rest of the prison. Every officer had heard a different story about why. Some said there was a fire that killed dozens of prisoners. Others said the cells were unstable, unsafe. But the oldest officers, the ones who'd been there since the 90s, they never spoke about it at all. Around noon, Ryan overheard a conversation in the guard room. Officer Grant, one of the older guys, was warning a rookie about the east corridor. "Don't even walk past it," Grant said. "They sealed E-Block for a reason." "Yay. What reason?" the rookie asked, grinning. Grant looked up, dead serious. "Because some doors shouldn't be opened again." Ryan laughed it off, but something about Grant's tone lingered in his mind. Later that night, when his shift rotated and he found himself on East Corridor duty, the silence there felt heavier. He passed by the old metal doors of Cell Block E. The light above them flickered faintly, buzzing like it was struggling to stay alive. Out of habit, he shined his flashlight across the door. That's when he saw it. The thick weld line that sealed it shut had been scratched recently. Not just scratched, cut. He froze. Someone had been trying to open it. "Grant," Ryan said into his radio. "You near the east corridor?" "Negative," came the crackled reply. "Why?" "I think someone's been tampering with E-Block." Grant's tone changed. "Cole, walk away. Now, you're not authorized to be near there." But Ryan didn't move. He couldn't. Something about the door pulled at him, like a voice whispering from the other side. A sound came from within. Faint. A metallic scrape. Then a knock. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. Ryan stepped closer. His flashlight dimmed. The air felt colder, sharper. He leaned forward and whispered, "Is someone in there?" The knocking stopped. Then a voice answered from the other side, calm and low, "You're late." Ryan stumbled back, his heart slamming against his ribs. He turned and called over his radio again, but static filled his ear. When he turned back, the weld had split. Not completely, but enough for air to seep through. He didn't know why, but he reached out. His fingers brushed the cold metal, and for a split second, he swore he felt another hand touch his from the inside. Then the power in the corridor flickered, and everything went black. He ran back to the control room, out of breath, trying to explain what happened, but the system showed nothing. The camera feed for E-Block had been disabled since 2009. No records, no maintenance logs, nothing. Later that night, the warden called Ryan into his office. The old man sat behind his desk, silent for a long time before saying, "Whatever you think you saw, forget it." "Sir, that block isn't empty," Ryan insisted. "Someone's in there." The warden's eyes darkened. "There hasn't been anyone in that block for 15 years. And if you value your job, you'll stay far away from it." Ryan nodded, but his curiosity burned even stronger. He spent the next 2 days sneaking through old records, trying to find anything about Cell Block E. Most files were redacted, but in one forgotten binder, he found a photograph, dated 2009, a group of inmates standing in front of a steel door. Scrawled on the back in faded pen were 5 names and one phrase. They never left. Ryan's blood ran cold. That night, during the storm, when the power failed, he was the only guard still in the east corridor. He saw the door was open. He heard the screams. He walked into the dark hallway of Cell Block E. And that was when everything changed. Because the man who spoke to him, the one wearing the old prison uniform, was in that photo. From 15 years ago, the power went out completely. The steel door slammed shut. And Officer Ryan Cole realized, too late, that he had finally entered the one place no one was supposed to go. When Officer Ryan Cole woke up, his flashlight was gone. The only light came from a single bulb hanging somewhere in the distance, flickering like it was struggling to stay alive. The air was damp, thick with the smell of rust and something else, something old. He called out, "Hello," but his voice bounced back in fragments, echoing through what felt like an endless hallway. He tried his radio. It hissed with static, no response. Then, through the static, a faint whisper came, "You shouldn't have come here." He froze. That was the same voice he'd heard before. Ryan backed away, his hand brushing against the cold concrete wall. The texture was wrong, uneven, like it had been clawed at. He lifted his hand and squinted. There were deep scratches in the wall, human-shaped. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. The cell block stretched ahead in a line of barred cells. Most were empty, but some had shadows, figures sitting still in the corners, too quiet to be living. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to move forward. The sound of dripping water echoed with each step. When lightning flashed through a high window, he saw it clearly. Each cell door had a nameplate. 5 of them. The same 5 names from the photograph he'd found in the archives. He moved closer to the first cell. It was marked Samuel Grant. The man inside sat on the floor, staring at nothing. His skin was pale gray, eyes sunken deep. But then he blinked. Ryan stumbled back, gasping. The man's head tilted, and he spoke in a slow, broken tone. "They left us here," he whispered. "Said the experiment was over. But it never ended." Ryan's heart pounded. "What experiment?" he asked, but the man didn't answer. Instead, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed forward, revealing burn marks across his neck, old and circular, as if made by wires. Suddenly, from the far end of the hall, another cell door creaked open. Ryan shone the dim light from his radio screen toward it. Inside stood a woman, though no women had ever been recorded in Graydale Prison. Her hair was tangled, her wrists scarred. She smiled faintly and said, "They said no one would ever come back here. They lied." Ryan's breath quickened. "Who are you?" Her voice trembled. "I'm what's left of what they tried to erase." Before he could ask more, the emergency sirens blared through the facility, shaking the walls. The sudden light from the hallway outside the block flickered on, revealing that the woman's cell was empty. Ryan blinked, disoriented. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him. He turned sharply and saw the warden standing by the entrance, holding a gun. His face was pale, drenched in sweat. "Cole," the warden said, his voice low but trembling. "You weren't supposed to come in here." Ryan stepped forward, anger building. "What's going on here? Who are these people?" The warden's hand shook slightly. "You wouldn't understand. It was a government project, 15 years ago. They told us to keep it sealed, said it was for national security." "Project?" Ryan echoed, disbelief thick in his voice. The warden nodded. "They were testing mind control through isolation. The inmates volunteered, or so they said. But something went wrong. The subjects stopped responding, started acting like they shared the same thoughts. Then they all stopped breathing at once." Ryan's eyes widened. "Then who's in those cells?" The warden looked past him, his face draining of color. Ryan turned to look, but all 5 cell doors were now wide open. The cells were empty, but the air felt heavy, charged. The temperature dropped suddenly, his breath turning visible. Then the whispers began again. Hundreds of them, all saying the same thing. "You shouldn't have come here." The warden shouted, "Cole, get out," and fired his gun at the ceiling, the sound echoing like thunder. Ryan turned to run, but something grabbed his arm, a cold, iron grip that stopped him in place. He looked down and saw a pale hand clutching his sleeve. The face that followed made his blood freeze. It was Samuel Grant, the man who had been dead for 15 years. Samuel's voice was clearer now. "You opened the door, Ryan. Now we can leave." The light flickered violently. The warden fired again, but each shot seemed to go through the figure like smoke. The air crackled, the lights exploded, and everything went black. When Ryan opened his eyes, he was outside, lying on the wet ground near the east corridor. His uniform was torn, his radio destroyed. The prison lights were back on, the rain still pouring. He stumbled to his feet and ran to the main gate, shouting for help. But when he reached the control room, the monitors for cell block E were on again, something that should have been impossible. On the screen, he saw himself standing in the hallway of E block, staring blankly at the camera. He blinked in confusion, because he was watching from outside, but the person on screen was him, wearing the same torn uniform, holding the same broken flashlight. The warden's voice came over the intercom, shaky and distant. "Cole, you didn't make it out." Ryan turned slowly toward the reflection in the glass door beside him. For the first time, he saw what the warden meant. His reflection wasn't moving the same way he was. It just stood there, smiling faintly, just like the man from cell block E. The lights flickered one last time, and then the screen went dark.